March 1971, 30,000 feet above Texas. Inside a Gulf Stream, 2 private jet, 5 men. Bruce Lee, a Texas oil billionaire, a former Navy SEAL who has killed with his bare hands, a young assistant, and a pilot. In 16 seconds, something will happen that only 4 people will witness. Something buried under $1 million legal contract for 50 years. This is what happened when a trained killer told Bruce Lee that martial arts were useless in real combat. 3 weeks earlier, Los Angeles. Bruce Lee was desperate. His Enter the Dragon script had been rejected by every major Hollywood studio. Warner Brothers passed, Paramount passed, Universal passed. The reason was always the same. Asian lead, too risky. Martial arts film, too niche. His dream was dying. Then a producer called. Bruce, meet Marcus Webb, Texas oil billionaire. And $300 million net worth, made $20 million on a Western last year. He invests in films. Marcus agreed to meet. Houston, his territory. The pitch lasted 30 minutes. Bruce presented his vision. Authentic martial arts, real fighting, international potential. Marcus listened carefully, asked sharp questions about markets, distribution, risk. At the end, he leaned back. I like the concept. Numbers work. But I need to see real action. Not demonstration. Real. Come back next week. Sunday morning, March 14th. Bruce arrived at Hobby Airport Private Terminal. 10 a.m. sharp. The Gulf Stream waited on the tarmac. White with gold trim. Serious money. A black Cadillac pulled up. Marcus Webb stepped out. Behind him, another man emerged. The man was massive. 6'2", 220 pounds, crew cut, dead eyes. The kind that have seen combat. They survived it, dealt it. Marcus walked to Bruce, firm handshake. Good to meet you in person. He gestured to the large man. This is Carter, my head of security. He goes everywhere I go. Bruce extended his hand. Carter looked at it before shaking. His grip was controlled, measuring. Bruce recognized it instantly. Combat veteran, someone who had killed. They boarded. Luxury interior, leather seats, mahogany trim. David, Marcus's young assistant, was already seated with a notebook. Bruce sat facing Marcus at a polished table. Carter sat behind Marcus, close, watching. The jet taxied. Engines powered up, climbed to 30,000 feet. As they leveled off, Marcus opened his briefcase. Bruce, 3 hours. Convince me why I should invest $3 million in your film. Bruce began. Market analysis. Growing martial arts interest in America. And tournament attendance numbers, demographic trends, international markets already huge for martial arts films. Marcus listened, asked penetrating questions, distribution strategy, marketing to Americans, risk mitigation. Bruce had prepared for months. He had answers for everything. 30 minutes in, Marcus leaned back. Compelling case on paper. Numbers work. But I need to see what makes you different. Show me. Demonstrate why audiences will pay to watch you fight. Bruce stood. Moved to the small space near the galley. 8 feet of floor, 6 feet wide. Limited room. He demonstrated basic strikes, straight punches. His famous 1-inch punch against a seat cushion. The impact was explosive. The cabinet shook. Marcus's eyebrows raised. Bruce showed speed combinations, hands blurring, snap kicks, control, precision. Marcus watched intently. David scribbled notes. The pilot glanced back, curious. But Carter sat with arms crossed, face neutral, not impressed, not convinced. Bruce finished, returned to his seat. Marcus nodded. Very impressive. Speed is undeniable. But that's demonstration. Controlled environment. How does it translate to real combat? Against someone actually trying to hurt you? Before Bruce could answer, Carter spoke, voice flat, cold, military. It doesn't. The cabin went silent. Everyone turned. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Carter? Carter leaned forward, dead eyes locked on Bruce. Martial arts are movie tricks, fancy choreography that looks good on camera but gets you killed in real combat. Bruce said nothing, face calm. Carter continued, I've been in real combat, hand-to-hand in Vietnam jungle. No rules, no referee. Kill or be killed. All that fancy stuff means nothing when someone's actually trying to end your life. What matters is size, strength, violence of action. David shifted uncomfortably. Marcus watched both men carefully. This was the test, not the pitch. This. Carter wasn't finished. You're what? 5'7", 135? I'm 6'2", 220, 85 pounds heavier, 7 inches taller, Navy SEAL, 2 combat tours, killed men with my bare hands. You're a movie actor doing demonstrations. You wouldn't last 10 seconds in a real fight with someone like me. The cabin vibrated with tension. Bruce's hands rested calmly on the table, breathing steady. No anger, no fear, just observation. Marcus made his move. Gentlemen, only one way to settle this. Carter, want to test your theory? Carter's eyes shifted. Sir? Marcus gestured to the space. Bruce says his methods work. You say they don't. Show me who's right. Right here, right now. David's voice cracked. Mr. Webb, we're at 30,000 feet. If someone gets hurt... Marcus waved his hand. They're professionals. I want to see this. He looked at Bruce. Willing? Bruce stood slowly. Yes, but this will be real. Someone could get hurt. Marcus smiled coldly. That's what I want to see. Carter? Carter stood, removed his jacket, handed it to David with shaking hands. Carter rolled up sleeves. His forearms were thick, scarred. Knife wound on left arm, bullet graze on right, shrapnel scars on both hands. A man who survived war, who killed to survive. Bruce removed his jacket, handed it to Marcus, rolled sleeves. The contrast was stark. Bruce's arms lean, defined. Next to Carter's massive forearms, he almost delicate. They moved to the narrow space, 8 feet by 6 feet, tight quarters. Carter dropped into military combative stance, balanced, efficient, face hard, emotionless, combat mode. Bruce stood naturally, no obvious stance, hands relaxed, just standing, breathing. Carter spoke flatly. Last chance, movie star. I won't go easy. Bruce's response was quiet. Show me what combat taught you. Carter nodded. Your funeral. He attacked, fast, military jab, testing. Bruce's left hand intercepted, light touch, redirected. Carter's fist passed Bruce's face by 2 inches. Miss. Carter's eyes narrowed. He reset. Through combination. Jab, cross, hook. Textbook military boxing. Fast. Powerful. Bruce's hands moved continuously. Parry, slip, duck. All 3 missed. Carter's frustration was immediate. He was fast. Well-trained. Combat tested. But this small man made him miss everything. Carter changed tactics. Charged forward. Using size, mass. Bull rush in the narrow cabin. No room to move laterally. He'd use space to trap Bruce. Shoulder forward, trying to crash into him. Bruce didn't move left or right. Moved forward, into the charge. Low, compact, rooted. His shoulder met Carter's chest. Carter's momentum hit immovable resistance. Energy redirected downward. He stumbled, caught himself on the counter. Bruce was already inside his guard. Right hand struck ribs. Short punch. 6 inches travel. Impact sound sharp, audible. Carter's breath expelled forcefully. Guard dropped instinctively. Bruce's left palm struck chest, controlled, but enough. Carter stumbled backward. Back hit cabin wall hard. Paneling rattled. 8 seconds. Were 8 seconds to put a trained killer against the wall. Carter stood, breathing hard, face showing genuine shock. Not supposed to happen. He was bigger, stronger, trained by the best military, killed armed enemies. But this movie actor put him defensive in 8 seconds. Carter's pride wouldn't allow it. Pushed off wall. That was luck. Bruce said nothing. Just reset. Calm. Patient. Carter moved carefully now. Controlled aggression. Feinted left. Watching for reaction. Bruce didn't react. Eyes never left Carter's center, where movement originates. Carter threw straight right. Hard. Fast. Full commitment. Bruce turned shoulder. Small movement. Punch glanced off. Minimal damage. Bruce's counter was immediate. Left jab toward face. Light contact. Pulling punch at last instant. But proving the opening. Carter felt it. Message clear. You're open. Vulnerable. Carter made a decision. Stand-up striking not working. Needed grappling. SEAL training. Close distance. Get control. Use size. He shot forward, hands reaching for Bruce's collar, trying to establish clinch. Bruce's hands dropped to Carter's wrists. Light pressure, guiding, redirecting. Carter's hands found empty air. Bruce turned, angled, his elbow positioned beside Carter's temple. In real fight, that elbow would drive into skull. But Bruce just touched, gently, proving position. 13 seconds. Second exchange. Carter was breathing much harder. Not just exertion, adrenaline, frustration, crushing realization. Everything he knew wasn't working. Bruce wasn't faster traditionally. Earlier. Saw attacks before they developed. Interrupted at source. Minimal movement. Maximum effect. Carter's training was excellent. We're world-class, but designed for soldiers. Fighting soldiers, unprepared for someone understanding combat through different paradigm. Carter made one more desperate attempt. Charged again, full commitment, all out, using narrow cabin, nowhere to slip laterally, pure mass to crash through. Bruce didn't evade, stepped forward, toward Carter, angled slightly right, left shoulder met charging chest at precise angle. Carter's momentum redirected completely. Feet tangled. Balance broke. He fell hard. Floor impact shook aircraft. 16 seconds total fighting time. Carter on floor. On back. Looking up. Bruce standing above. Not threatening. Not aggressive. Not gloating. Just standing. Calm. Breathing normally. Carter lay there. Massive chest. Heaving. Face red with humiliation and shock, feeling of being completely outclassed. Marcus had watched in complete silence, face showing no emotion. David's mouth was open, notebook fallen to floor. Pilot in cockpit doorway, frozen. 4 witnesses, unable to speak, unable to move, just staring. Bruce extended hand downward, offering help. Carter stared at it. Long moment. Pride battling reality, then reached up, took it. Bruce pulled him to feet. Carter stood unsteadily, straightened wrinkled shirt, face bright red. Bruce spoke quietly, voice gentle, educational. You're well-trained, techniques solid, instincts good, but you fight with assumptions. Assumed size matters, assumed strength matters, assumed combat experience would translate. In many contexts, those assumptions correct, but not all. I don't fight with techniques or styles. I fight with principles, and principles that work regardless of size or strength. Carter nodded slowly, still processing, unable to speak, moved back to seat, sat heavily, stared at hands. Hands that killed in Vietnam. Hands that just failed against movie actor 85 pounds lighter who never threw full power strike. Marcus had remained silent, now spoke, voice steady, businesslike. Bruce, sit. Let's continue. Bruce returned to seat, breathing completely normal. Marcus looked at him, really looked. Bruce Lee, You have your funding. $3 million. I'll invest in Enter the Dragon. Bruce's expression unchanged. Professional. Thank you, but why? You seemed skeptical before. Marcus leaned back. I'm a businessman. I invest in people. In reality. You just handled a trained killer in 16 seconds. A man who's killed with his hands. In space, 6 feet wide. Never hurt him. That control, that skill, that's real. If you're real, your movie will be real. Audiences will see it, feel it. That authenticity is worth $3 million. Then Marcus's tone changed. Cold. Hard. But one condition. Absolutely non-negotiable. Bruce waited. What condition? Marcus looked at each person. Carter, David, toward Pilot, back to Bruce. What happened today never happened. This fight, this demonstration, stays on this aircraft forever. Nobody speaks. Not to press, not to friends, not to family. Nobody. Ever. Bruce considered carefully. Why absolute secrecy? Marcus chose words precisely. If this gets out, massive problem for everyone. Bruce, you become target. Every fighter wants to test you. Carter's reputation damaged. My judgment questioned. When film releases, all publicity about this incident instead of movie. Story overshadows product. So it never happened. Legal contract, non-disclosure, binding. Severe financial penalties for violation. Bruce looked at Carter. Carter met his eyes. Something unspoken passed between them. Understanding, respect from combat. Carter spoke quietly. I agree. Stays buried. Bruce looked back at Marcus. I agree. David's voice was weak. Agree as well. Marcus nodded to David. Draft NDA. Clause airtight. Events on aircraft. March 14th, 1971. Permanently confidential. All parties never disclose, discuss, reference these events. Violation means immediate contract termination. Financial penalties. $1 million per occurrence. 2 weeks later, contracts arrived. Bruce read every page. NDA was brutal, comprehensive. 5 signatures required. Bruce Lee signed. Marcus Webb signed. Carter signed. David signed. Pilot signed. 5 people legally bound to absolute silence. Enter the Dragon was produced. Released August 1973. Revolutionary. Massive success. Changed cinema forever. Made Bruce immortal. Marcus made 10 times his investment. But nobody talked. 4 witnesses kept silence. Why? Contract was binding. Penalties devastating. Careers, reputations depended on silence. Bruce died July 1973. Marcus died 1989. Carter disappeared into private security work. David became a producer. Pilot retired. None spoke. The fight, buried under NDAs, under agreements. 4 witnesses. 1 secret. Absolute silence. But whispers exist. Rumors in Hollywood, legends among martial artists, stories about private jet, Navy SEAL, Bruce proving something that secured funding, but no details, no proof, just shadows. This is why you never heard this story. Not because it didn't happen, because it did. Powerful people wanted it forgotten. The legend you know was built on moments you'll never see. This was the most dangerous fight. At 30,000 feet, in 16 seconds, 4 witnessed. $1 million contract. Secret for 50 years. The jet landed in Houston. Bruce shook Marcus's hand. Carter nodded. Respect earned. David collected his notebook. The pilot taxied to private terminal. 5 men stepped off that aircraft carrying different burdens. Bruce carried $3 million and a binding silence. Marcus carried an investment and a secret. Carter carried a shattered worldview and new respect. David carried notes he could never use. The pilot carried a story he could never tell. They went their separate ways. Never spoke of it again. The Gulfstream II was sold in 1975. scrapped in 1983. The physical space where it happened no longer exists, but the 4 surviving witnesses carried it, every day, for decades. Carter tried to process what happened, spent months analyzing those 16 seconds, how Bruce moved, how he anticipated, how he controlled without destroying. Carter changed his training methods, began studying martial arts, never reached Bruce's level, but understood something profound. Size and strength were tools, not guarantees. David occasionally thought about that day. The notebook still existed somewhere in his files, but he never opened it. The NDA haunted him. $1 million per violation. He couldn't risk it. The pilot told his wife something happened on a flight in 1971, something extraordinary, but he never gave details. The NDA was clear. Now, she asked once. He shook his head. I signed something. Can't discuss it. Ever. She never asked again. Marcus Webb rarely thought about it. For him, it was business. Good investment. Necessary test. Results confirmed. Contract signed. Transaction complete. But sometimes, late at night in his Houston mansion, he'd remember Bruce standing over Carter. That calm expression. That controlled power. And Marcus would think, I witnessed something nobody else will ever see. When Bruce Lee died in 1973, all 4 witnesses felt the weight differently. Carter attended the funeral, stood in back, didn't approach the family, just paid respects, silent, honoring someone who taught him humility. Marcus sent flowers, large arrangement, no card, just flowers. David wanted to write something, tribute, memory, but the NDA stopped him. He sat at his typewriter, stared at blank page, wrote nothing. The pilot heard the news on television, sat in his living room, remembered the flight, the 16 seconds, the silence after. He poured a drink, toasted the empty room, said nothing. The years passed. The legend of Bruce Lee grew. Films were analyzed, techniques studied, philosophy discussed, books written, documentaries made. But the private jet story stayed buried. Occasionally, someone would ask Marcus Webb about Bruce Lee. Did you fund Enter the Dragon? Marcus would smile. Yes, good investment. Nothing more. Someone asked Carter once if he'd ever met Bruce Lee. Carter's face remained neutral. No, never met him. The lie was necessary. The NDA was clear. David became successful producer, worked on martial arts films in the 80s. People asked if he knew Bruce. He only through his work, never met him personally. Another necessary lie. The pilot retired, wrote memoirs about flying celebrities, mentioned dozens of famous passengers, never mentioned Bruce Lee. The omission was deliberate. In 1989, Marcus Webb died. Heart attack, age 73. His lawyers contacted the 3 surviving witnesses. The NDA remained in effect, binding on estates and heirs. The silence continued. Carter died in 2003. Private security work, quiet life. His family found papers, legal documents, NDAs from various clients. The one dated March 14th, 1971, was among them. They honored it, asked no questions. David is still alive, now in his 70s. Sometimes he thinks about that notebook, the one from March 1971. It's in a storage unit somewhere. He could retrieve it, read his notes, remember details, but he won't. And the NDA is still active, $1 million per occurrence. And more importantly, a promise was made. Promises matter. The pilot died in 2018, age 87. In his final weeks, his grandson asked about his most interesting flight. The old pilot smiled. Many interesting flights, but some stories aren't mine to tell. He died with that secret. Today, Only one witness remains. David, the young assistant who took notes, now an old man who keeps promises. Sometimes journalists contact him. Did you ever work with Bruce Lee? David's answer is always the same. I worked in Hollywood during that era. Many people crossed paths, can't recall specific interactions. The NDA is still technically active. The penalties still apply. And even if they didn't, even if the legal obligation had expired, David keeps silent for different reason. Because Bruce Lee trusted him to keep a secret. And David doesn't break trust. This is the story 4 men agreed to bury. The story powerful enough to require $1 million penalties. The story that secured $3 million in funding. The story that proved Bruce Lee was everything he claimed to be. 16 seconds at 30,000 feet. A Navy SEAL on his back. A billionaire witnessing the impossible. An assistant taking notes he could never use. A pilot hearing sounds he could never describe. And 50 years of absolute silence. The Gulf Stream, 2 that carried them, no longer exists. 3 of the 5 men are dead. The contracts remain sealed in lawyers' files. The notes sit in a storage unit, unread for decades. But the truth remains. On March 14, 1971, Bruce Lee proved his art was real. Not in a tournament. Not on a movie set. Not for cameras or crowds. In the most private setting imaginable. Against the most dangerous opponent available. With the highest stakes possible. And 4 men watched. And 4 men signed. And 4 men kept the secret. Until now.